Launch Space Zone is the final level of Sonic 3. And as a result, in Sonic 3 alone, it's a lot more difficult. Yeah, if you spin dash at the red alarm causing things, and you just stay there, then the enemies will keep flying into you, and you'll keep racking up points. And you'll get a larger amount of points every time. And eventually, it'll get to the point where every 4 or so enemies that you kill, you'll get an extra life. And you're gonna get multiple time overs doing it, but it is possible to rack up to 99 lives doing this. Yeah, you stand on that platform and it falls. And that enemy is annoying because I'm not really sure how you're supposed to reliably kill it. Keep jumping into it. And I guess it's only when it appears and it shoots its energy ball. Only then can you hurt it. I love these rising platforms because they move really fast. And I like how they spin around. The Badniks are one of my least favorite things about this level. Even though it has a lot of fast parts and I love it for that. Those green enemies are one of my least favorite Badniks in all of Sonic history. Because the only part of them that can be damaged is the green part. And if you run into any other part, which is extremely easy to do in a fast-paced platformer, then you're gonna get hit. Oh yeah, those things can very easily hit you with their lasers because they fire from off-screen. And you're being sent up to them. And it's a very good thing that you can jump into them to kill them then. And why did they have to bring the Bubble Badniks back? At least you can kill them a lot easier with the Insta-Shield. So just use the Insta-Shield near them, and you're done. These things suck because you don't jump very high at all from them, so it's easy to not get to where you need to. You don't have to go into that pipe twice. I love how many dash pads are here, and they send you up walls, and it's awesome. These things are kind of annoying though because you have to hold back on them, or you'll go too far and either you'll fall down or you'll hit an enemy. I hate it when there are enemies around those things. You can be crushed by these things, so it's better to just jump on them. It's ironically a lot faster to be knocked down by that enemy and then just go down here because here's where you're supposed to go anyways. I hate these elevators. I hate these warp panels because they don't contribute anything positive and because they take forever. If it was an instant warp, then it would be okay. Although I guess it'd be a little disorienting if it warped you instantly. But yeah, this level's a lot harder in Sonic 3 alone. In Sonic 3 alone, there is a water area that you have no choice but to go into, where you have to spin dash up a wall. You have to hit a spring, and it sends you up a wall. And then you have to jump off that wall at exactly the right time in order to land in one of these things. If you're caught off guard by landing one of these things successfully, like holy crap I actually did it, and then you jump out of it, then it goes up without you and it's impossible for you to bring it back to where it was. And so you have no choice but to drown because the water area is so deep that it's impossible to get high enough to get more air. And there's no bubbles in there at all. In Sonic 3 and Knuckles, that water area is still there, but you can take an upper route to avoid it, as it should have been, because that section is extremely cheap. It requires too precise timing to get through it. And I never liked it when you had an area where you walk towards what looked like a regular wall, but then all of a sudden it disappears, and it turns out that wall is just part of the foreground, but not a part of the foreground where you walked into it. You know? So it feels kind of unintuitive that you have to walk into the wall and that's how you progress. That boss is kind of annoying. I always get hit by it. And the Insta Shield doesn't really help you all that much. In Knuckles' story, you fight 2 of them. And it's all the more proof that Knuckles' story takes place after Sonic's. One of them attacks you in Sonic's story, but in Knuckles' story, the one that attacked Sonic is gone. The egg or whatever he hatched from is gone, and the 2 that didn't fight Sonic will fight Knuckles. I'm not sure why Eggman didn't send all 3 of them at once after Sonic in the first place. I guess he was just too overconfident and wanted to save the 2 enemies for later. But yeah, there's a lot of proof in the game, if you look hard enough, that Sonic's story takes place before Knuckles' story. Because, unlike with how the Tails story isn't canon, and, well, I think the Sonic Alone story isn't canon either, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense for Tails to just suddenly show up carrying you in Marble Garden Zone. So, the Sonic Alone story isn't canon, and the Tails Alone story isn't canon. But Sonic and Tails and Knuckles stories are. I didn't play as Sonic and Tails for this LP because Tails can be inconvenient too. Oh yeah, in Sonic 3 Alone you have to go to the left there. And then there's a platform that moves back and forth. And you have to jump into a switch in order to progress. But it's very easy to fall into spikes if you move fast enough. And the annoying thing is that in order to get into that area in the first place, you're pretty much guaranteed to land on item boxes with Eggman in it and get hurt. There's no way around it. So it was bad level design, so I'm glad they changed it for Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, they made this place easier. Not only that, not only are there certain areas that are gone, or you can avoid them, but there's also less fire. And I always end up rushing through the fire because I'm impatient and I get hit by it. Imagine how claustrophobic Sonic must feel going into those water pipes, especially because he's afraid of drowning. That's something I haven't mentioned before. A well-known character flaw of Sonic the Hedgehog is that he's afraid of drowning. Mainly because, again, Yuji Naka thought that hedgehogs couldn't swim even though they could. I guess I don't blame him for thinking that because he's known for being a ground-based animal. And it's ironic that an animal as slow as a hedgehog is Sonic. Like, Sonic is the fastest thing alive, and yet he's a hedgehog, which is known for being a slow creature. That's one of the reasons why Sonic was made a hedgehog in the first place instead of an armadillo. That and his spiky spines, it looks a lot more dangerous than the shell of an armadillo does. Plus, the way the spines are shaped, they give off the illusion of speed, like they're waving really fast. So, they put a lot of careful thought into his design. Like, as I mentioned in my first Let's Play, he's blue because of the Sega logo. And he's red because he has red and white shoes because of the whole Michael Jackson and Santa Claus stuff. And he was originally going to be a lighter shade of blue, but then he would blend in with the sky. And speaking of the sky is purple here. I know it's Angel Island and it's a floating magical island, but still, it's kind of weird. I love the way it looks though. This boss gave me trouble when I first played it, because it's impossible to predict where exactly the black ball is going to appear. And you have to stand on top of a platform to jump at Eggman in the first place, so it's easy for that black ball to surprise you and go out of it and attack you. I hate this cutscene. This is so, it takes forever and it's so mind-numbingly boring. And again, every time you replay this level, you have to sit through this whole entire cutscene all over again. That's why I hate the cutscenes in this game, because you have to sit through them doing nothing. And it's especially boring because there's no dialogue at all. So, I just wish you could skip them. I mean, it's good that they have a natural transition. But, you know, even though the transitions between levels aren't really that impressive either, because usually it's just Sonic goes to the right. Sonic spin dashes through some snow. Sonic goes into a cannon. You know, like it's a very, very simple thing that any 2D Sonic game could accomplish. Like, the big reason why I would be in favor of natural transitions between levels is because it does a better job of showing where the levels are in relation to each other. But this game doesn't do that. You still have no idea. You don't have a map of Angel Island or anything. The closest you get is seeing Angel Island on the title screen Sonic 3 Knuckles and seeing that Lava Reef Zone where the Death Egg crashes after this. It's a volcano mountain. That boss I just fought, it gave me a lot of trouble when I first played it because the horizontal things shoot out and it's easy for them to hit you. And there's also all sorts of gray energy balls that can easily hit you, even when you bounce on him multiple times. And I made it look easy, but there's in Sonic 3 alone, there's a third boss right after that. And part of the reason I had such trouble with it was because I often had no rings getting to that third boss. Now, I'll be showing off that third boss in an extra video. It makes sense that they had a final boss for Sonic 3 alone. And they decided to cut it out in Sonic 3 Knuckles because they wanted it to be considered one game. That boss isn't really that difficult once you know exactly what to do. Once you get down the pattern, my only complaint with it now is that it takes too long. So it's kind of boring to me, if anything. Yeah. That special stage is pretty precise. You gotta know exactly what to do. And do exactly what the developers want you to. It introduces the yellow spears that send you flying upwards. I'll be showing off all the special stages in an extra video. But this is Mushroom Hill Zone. And this is what I think should have been the very first level of the game. This should have been the first level of Sonic 3 Knuckles. This should have been a level in Sonic 3. Because its level design perfectly matches that of Sonic 3. It's fast. It's got all sorts of loops and it's really fun. All sorts of loops and slopes making you go fast everywhere. I hate these parts though. What does this contribute to the level design? Why can't there just be a spring to get me up there a lot faster? If you stand on these things, then you get launched upwards, but you have to wait a few seconds before it happens. And I hate when that happens. It throws a football mushroom that sends you far away. You think that those horizontal poles that you swing around, you'd think they made their first appearance in Adventure 2, but technically they first appeared in this game. And I suck at timing them in this one, but in Adventure 2 I'm really good at it. I can just press A and then immediately press A and get launched from the second one. Why do these things happen? What do those vines that catch you contribute? Nothing. They just stop you and then you have to spin dash and it doesn't feel like it contributes anything positive at all. Sometimes you can get launched when you go to the right from those curling vines, but other times you can't. It feels really finicky to work with. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this level, but it has its problems. It's not as fast as it could be, and the hangers, they take forever to get past, and there's a lot of annoying enemies too. This boss can be made even easier if you just bounce on top of it. The unique thing about this level is that its music is actually in an uncommon time. It's like the music that plays when you turn on your GameCube. And I love that. I love music like that. Because it's in an uncommon time, the melody and the instrumentation, it has a unique feeling to it that can't be replicated by a remix. Like, this appeared... Oh, I love how the aesthetic changes too. It's actually explained that Eggman changed the seasons of this place somehow, with a satellite that we'll destroy later. And I just love it. Like, isn't it ironic? Like, the first level of Sonic 3 had a changing aesthetic, and so does this. More Sonic games should do something like this. It also does a great job of making you feel like you progress with the level. The wind there is kind of annoying though. And if you grab onto that thing, then you float downwards with a slippery momentum. And then you can slowly turn around. And you can collect rings that way. I'm not sure how you're supposed to know that you can go up through that ceiling. And again, not only do I hate how long it takes to go up with that thing, I also hate the sound that it makes. I mean, it makes a high-pitched squeaking sound, and it's just painful to listen to, especially when you're hearing it over and over again. There are a lot of elemental shields in this place, though, and I like that. But I never liked Sonic and Knuckles all that much, so it kind of proves my point that it's in the inferior half when even the best level in it has a lot of problems. Like, why can't Sonic and Knuckles have more sections like this? I mean, I get it, Sonic and Knuckles is a difficulty spike because it's the latter half of the game. But difficult does not have to mean slow and dull. I don't feel like the platforming in Sonic & Knuckles is nearly as satisfying as in Sonic 1. And I don't feel like it's nearly as fast either. Although I've warmed up to Sonic & Knuckles the more I played it. The last time I played through Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I didn't start getting angry at the Sonic & Knuckles part of it until Lava Reef Zone. Although I really hated the first Sandslide section in Sanddopolis Act 2. I'll get to that. Ironically, I didn't have much trouble with it in my LP. It was only the last time I played the game that I had trouble with it. I love the mushroom aesthetic of this place, and I love the music, I love the whole feeling. Then they would reuse that in Rush Adventure, and it made no sense because it wasn't like it was in Angel Island zone. This is a Sonic Advance 2 boss done right. Because you're constantly moving, and you have to jump at the boss. You know why it's done right? Because the ground is flat. That's why. Because in Sonic Advance 2, the ground is constantly sloping during the boss fights to screw up your jump, so that you jump higher or lower than you normally jump. But in this boss fight, the jump is always, the ground is always flat like it should be, which is perfect. I mean, it's still kind of awkward physics-wise that you're always moving, and so you let go of the control pad, but you're still moving. And it takes a while to build up speed so that you can catch up to Eggman and jump at him. But the fact that the ground is flat is perfect. And the Flame Shield makes this boss even easier, because you can homing attack into him, and you're immune to the fire. I kind of find that boss tedious, but it could be a lot worse. So next up is Flying Battery Zone.